This is the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with your host, Vicki Davis. Episode 807, The Human Side of AI, a student's ChatGPT experience.
I'm so excited today to be talking to my student, William Price. Well, technically, he's not my student anymore because he graduated last Friday, didn't you, William?
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations, William Price, class of 2023. Now, William was in my computer science class his senior year. Tough class, right, William?
Yes, ma'am. Very tough.
He's not just saying that because it was. And they got to select a final project of their choice, a capstone project. And lots of people did a lot of different cool things, but William, what was the name of your project?
ChatGPT versus Miss Davis's computer science class.
And what was the premise behind your capstone project?
I logged into ChatGPT and I wanted to see how advanced the chatbot was. So I had it do all the tests that the computer science class did over the year.
Yeah, and you're talking really the major projects that we did. Presented on that, your parents came. It was a fantastic presentation. But let's talk through, I think you ran it through 4 of our major assignments. Can you remember those assignments and talk through how it did on each of them?
For the first assignment, I believe I asked the chatbot it was comparing different computers.
Yeah, so you had a computer shopping project that you did last semester. And I'll tell a little bit about this. In this project, students are given a budget. They have to look up computers online, get the specs for those computers, and then include the specs, and then they had to write a paper on which computer would be the best for their particular major. Okay, so what did you feed into ChatGPT?
I remember not wanting to be too specific on anything and seeing how well the chatbot could have done gathering all the information. So I just asked it, compare 4 computers for me, give me the pros and cons of both, and then write out a little paragraph at the bottom. And I was asking it just which computer would be better for me to buy. Listed out a chart because it couldn't do a spreadsheet because it didn't have access creating a PDF. Put it in a chart inside ChatGPT. Didn't give any specific names of computers, but it just listed out the specs of the computers.
Oh, so you didn't even feed in the 4 computers you found. You let it create 4 theoretical computers, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
And on this one, do you feel, how did you feel, what one? Do you feel like ChatGPT did it as well as students did?
No, because the students were able to go more in depth on it, but I feel like if I gave it a more specific prompt and asked it to do more, it probably would have done just as well.
So I was actually very impressed with what it wrote up. I did not realize that it sort of fabricated the 4 computers. That's interesting. I actually was pretty impressed with what it wrote. I would think it would have been a solid answer, but there's one thing I want to come to, and I've been writing on 80 days of HI and AI. HI is human intelligence. William is probably thinking, Miss Davis, I have to come back and hear this again. I want to make the point that he brought his human intelligence into it, and he is right. If he fed in the 4 different computers that he had found, it probably would have given even better answer for the best computer. Of course, it can still be flawed, but I was pretty impressed with the answer that it gave. So you feel like the human answers were better because they were more specific?
Yes, ma'am.
And they had real hyperlinks. So what was another project that you can remember that you ran ChatGPT against?
I asked it to create a website out of HTML coding, and I thought it did very good with that. It's about as good as what any student did this year when it came to the HTML project.
So what kind of website did you ask it to build?
I typed in that there's this made-up person. I forgot the name, but I said to create a website about this person and all the stuff that it likes, his favorite movies, places to go to eat, and I think his favorite music.
I was impressed with this too because William and his classmates learned to code HTML by hand. I know there will be people on the internet rolling their eyes at that. However, I believe personally that understanding how to read and write HTML is the language of the web, and you never know when you're going to come across HTML. So I have found in my experience of teaching HTML by hand for over 20 years now that it does come in handy. But you found, William, what a lot of people are finding, that actually ChatGPT is really good at writing HTML. Now, did it add any CSS or not?
From all the code that I saw, it looked like HTML to me. There was nothing that I didn't learn.
But you didn't ask it to write any CSS either.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so I've heard of people having it write whole HTML sites, whole mock-ups, and this is supposed to be something it's very good at, but you did give it the prompt, so that's great. So in that case, ChatGPT was as good as you and your classmates.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Okay, what was another project?
I asked it to develop a game in Python or develop the game using Python in Azaria. It was unable to do it in Azaria because it couldn't access the website, but it did create a game in Python.
So in this case, we're using a tool called Azaria. They have another piece called Code Combat to teach Python. And so one thing that William doesn't know is it actually has a little bit of Python code behind the scenes that it inserts. So ChatGPT, I have found, will help kids troubleshoot their Python code, but typically won't write it for them. Because not all features are available to kids as they go through, which is one reason I love Azaria, because it kind of keeps them where they are and keeps them from copying off the internet. So, William, what was the fourth assignment?
I asked ChatGPT to create a short presentation on emerging technology. It was able to basically spit back out what every student wrote earlier in the year. Just it reworded it. It was probably no more than like 3 paragraphs.
So did you paste in something like, no, you just said emerging technology?
Do what it does. It was able to search all over the internet and find the emerging technology and articles. It wasn't able to post any links. A lot of the stuff that I wrote down, I've seen when I was doing the project, I've seen where sites had said similar things.
I'm curious, do you remember what emerging technology it picked?
It did at least 3. It did AI.
Of course, it's going to write about itself.
Virtual currency, blockchaining, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the last one is. I think it had to do something with transportation.
Oh, okay, like a Hyperloop or something, which we talked about those. Okay, so your conclusion that you came to in the class was what?
ChatGPT is good, but you can't rely only on ChatGPT. It's a good stepping stone when it comes to developing things, like when it comes to coding and anything regarding computer science. If you want to get the mundane task out of the way, then you can just go into ChatGPT and type in a prompt for you. As you get further down to your project, use your own human side to it to improve it.
I think you gave the number, you said 50%. You kind of felt like on half of the projects, it did a reasonably good job.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and so this is just kind of a word to teachers, is that I believe ChatGPT and tools like large language models like that, which we need to understand that there are other models. The Google model is rapidly gaining. There is an open source AI large language model that is going to be widely used. So all of these large language models can be very, very useful, but you have to write your assignments and your tasks in ways that require human intelligence. It's kind of like when Google came out and we had to stop asking kids to go copy out of the encyclopedia at their house. And because otherwise they were just going to copy off Google and turn it in, which they did at the beginning. And now you're seeing ChatGPT be the same thing. So, William, your parents were here watching. And tell us about the question your dad asked, which is the question I think every parent is asking these days.
It was about how can teachers see if a student's using ChatGPT or not.
Yeah, for cheating. And what you thought about kids using ChatGPT for academic work. So that's kind of the question everybody's asking. What are your thoughts?
There are ways to detect ChatGPT, but I believe that it's going to be kind of like Google ChatGPT, and I don't think it's going to be used as much for cheating, but more as kind of a search engine, getting, like I said, mundane, everyday, easy task out of the way.
When you first started hearing other students, whether at this school or other schools, talk about ChatGPT and how they could use it, I guess, to be dishonest, what did you hear others start saying about it?
Usually they were joking and saying, oh, ChatGPT, I'll just get it to do my whole paper and something like that without looking over it. But there are just some people out there that are going to it to, like, if they're feeling stressed out and they just want to get a easy A or whatever, they might just ask ChatGPT to do the assignment for them.
So what do you think? I mean, what do you think about that? Is that a problem? What are your thoughts?
it is a problem. After the pandemic, people have been trying to find an easy way out when it comes to things, because having extended summer break and coming back to school, students have been extra lazy, but I think it's going to come back to bite them. Teachers are going to find a way to make students actually have to do the work themselves and not just have a bot do everything for them.
Thank you, William. William's already graduated, and he and I talked last week, and I said, hey, will you give me a call? He says, sure, I'll email you. And he did, and he kept his promise. And it's a whole week after graduation. He's back here at the school keeping his promises. And, that's a piece of human intelligence that's really important, is keeping your commitments, having relationships with human beings. It's been great to interview you. I'm excited for this show to come out, for people to see one of my many amazing students. And William, I'm really excited about your future. Yeah, I've already told you, I think you're brilliant. I think you're going to be extremely successful, and I hope you'll keep me updated.
You've been listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. If you like this program, you can find more at coolcatteacher.com. If you wish to see more content by Vicki Davis, you can find her on Facebook and Twitter under Cool Cat Teacher. Thank you for listening.